It damages the seabed, it kills plants and animals, and it releases carbon, which can contribute to climate change. I'm talking about the practice of bottom trawling. That's dragging a fishing net across the ocean bed, indiscriminately catching everything in its path. I'm journalist Angela Walker, and in this podcast I talk to inspirational people and discuss underreported issues. My guest today is Jean-Luc Solandt from the Marine Conservation Society. Welcome to the programme.
Thank you very much for having me.
First of all, what exactly is bottom trawling?
It's a process by which a powered ship, fishing boat, pulls a net along the seabed by the use of these warps, which are metal ropes, to take the tension of the net. The net is held open by either otter boards, which are these big wooden or metal boards that hold the net open at the mouth of the net, and it drags along the seabed, catching the fish.
And what's the scale of these things? I'd like to work out, how big are they?
Oh, they can be tens and even up to 100 plus meters wide, about 10 up to 10 meters in height. The length of the warps going out to the nets can be hundreds of meters in length. And then there are other forms of other seabed disturbing types of line that are dragged along the seabed to a static net called Danish or Scottish seining, and that can be up to 4 kilometers length of rope that is just used to disturb the seabed and move the fish into the net. So it's an industrial scale of fishing.
They are absolutely huge. It's almost hard to comprehend just how big these nets are. And when I first started reading about it, I was quite shocked. So it almost stands to reason that they are causing a lot of damage. But just talk us through what is happening when these things are dragging across the ocean floor.
So first of all, it crushes marine life. So even though the problem with some of the fishing industry and the way we reported the damage of these things is that, of course, a lot of the marine life is left destroyed on the seabed, and it's not therefore coming up in the net to describe the damage that is occurring. And it creates a lot of sedimentation. So the sediments that are stirred up on the seabed bottom can be from sediments that are buried down to 10 or even 20 centimeters into the seabed. And those are locked carbon stores. So that occurs. And also some of the chains that are required to weight down the net actually on the seabed, dragging along the bottom, in turn cause damage. And the worst of all is perhaps scallop dredging, which is what it is. There are these 6-inch teeth that are designed to, with spring-loaded dredgers, to bounce in and out of the seabed to stir up the scallops, to then rise up to about a foot into the water column and then be caught in a chainmail bag behind them. So it is industrial ploughing of the sea to a certain degree.
And the damage that's occurring, how bad is it? I mean, how long does it take to recover? What's the sort of scale of the damage itself?
Well, the sad thing is over the course of industrialization of this type of technique it's been going on for about 150 years. 150 years means we've pretty much dragged every single bit of the seabed off the UK and off Europe in our continental shelf. That means in waters less than 200 meters deep, because those are feasibly and economically and industrially accessible to these sorts of fishing, and that's where the most fish are. So the damage has happened in our fathers and our grandfathers and our great-grandfathers' time. And now what we're seeing in the marine environment is probably a small fraction of the biodiversity and the remnant productivity of the ocean's wealth. A paper came out in 2010, which is quite a long time ago, describing the fact that we probably lost about 95% of our fish in the North Sea from this mechanized form of fishing. So the damage is done in our forefathers' time. Therefore, how do we attribute blame? It's really difficult. If society does something in a particular way, like burning fossil fuels, and doesn't consider the impact of it from 150 years ago, who do we blame? Maybe we should change our narrative of this, saying, let's just sort the issue out rather than look at individuals to blame. So the way we've done it in society up to now is to try and create these vast protected areas that should eliminate this sort of activity, or try and reduce the impact of the heaviness of this equipment and the intrusiveness of it, and to make it more selective to catch the fish we really want to catch. Those are what's happened probably in the last 10 to 30 years. And a lot of the fishing industry is subsidized. Did you know that the fuel that the trawlers are using is subsidized by us? So we're paying the tax for the fuel. So where we're packing, I don't know what we pay in tax at the pumps, maybe 20, 30, 40%. That is paid for by government to fish using these gears, which I think is not good.
Gosh, so we're actually funding the bottom trawling out of the taxpayers' money.
That is a truth that is unpalatable, I would suggest, given its effects on the oceans, and those subsidies also are in certain EU fleets. In Spain, the subsidies extend to things like docking facilities, harbour, ports, freezer units. If you go to northern Spain, you can see these enormous, beautiful EU-funded infrastructure projects that support, a fishery that is reducing in its catch rates and its efficiency. So we need more regulation on restriction rather than keeping the thing going in its current form.
Would you argue then that instead of subsidising bottom trawling, that the EU should be subsidising more environmentally friendly fishing methods, surely?
Absolutely. And it's still the power of the bottom trawling industry that lobbies the EU to keep it going. So I think power is where money is, and money is where those big industrial trawlers exist. So I would go back on an earlier point that you said. I don't think there are a lot of people earning a lot of money, but there are a few people earning a lot of money that have a lot of power, that own a few big boats that keep things going as they are. So and there's been a lack of democracy in the allocation of quota. We've heard about Greenpeace have done some excellent work, and Seas at Risk, some colleagues of mine, to find out that lobbying goes on behind closed door with fishing industry representatives to the ministers that set the quota for fisheries that aren't in the interest of the average smaller boat fisherman. But that's more of an EU problem. In some ways, what we've done since leaving the EU has been more helpful to our smaller scale fishers who are less impactful to the environment in British waters.
So what would you like to see next?
I'd like to see the final set of marine protected areas closed off of offshore English waters. That's probably about 10,000 square kilometres. Those are going through consultation this year. Their target is to get them done by the end of this year. I'd like to then see the Scottish protected areas closed, which have been much more politically difficult because the Scottish fishing industry is more powerful than the English one, because they actually have more sea and more investment per capita in that fleet. And again, it's big boats. One of the most exciting things is we've learned from the work we've done legally in the UK, and we're replicating that with a project we're doing with our European non-governmental organisation partners in a number of countries. So they're hopefully going to start seeing their waters closed in their protected areas, at least, to some of these gears, these trawling gears, in the next 2 to 3 years. So I'm pretty hopeful.
Thank you so much for talking to me today. It's fascinating. I've learned so much. How can people find out more if they're interested?
Well, they can follow our website, they can follow me on Facebook, and they can definitely sort of just put bottom trawling into their search engines and see how things are moving. The very famous clothing company Patagonia has got a campaign to ban bottom trawling. So there are various ways they can get engaged and learn about the subject. And it is a global issue. It's not just the UK. And there are lots of things online that people can do. There are lots of petitions. There are lots of campaigns.
Thank you so much for joining me.
It's a pleasure.
I'm journalist Angela Walker, and today I've been in conversation with Jean-Luc Solandt from the Marine Conservation Society. I hope you enjoyed the programme. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate, review and share it with your friends. And you can check out my other work on my YouTube channel and my website, angelawalkerreports.com. Till next time, goodbye.